All right, let's look at what is called here investigation number 8, and it's just a kind of a bonus. And we're going to focus on graphing relationships. So, relationships between two things can be illustrated using a graph, and you can also find that relationship with an equation. So, let's spend a little time talking about the relationship here that we can show using a graph. Okay? It says here tables and graphs can be used to display relationships. What that simply means is you want to know if something increases, what happens to something else? Does it also go up or does it go down? That's basically what you're trying to figure out. So two quantities, two things, like how much you get paid based upon how much time you work. So obviously, the more time you work, as that goes up, the more pay you will receive. Okay? So those two are in a specific relationship. Here's an example. It says, suppose Dinah has a job that pays $10 per hour. So every hour that she works, she will get paid $10. The table below shows how much Dinah will receive after working 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, etc. Notice, if she works for 1 hour, she gets $10. If she works for 2, because she's getting $10 for each hour, that's 2 times 10 or 20. If she works for 3 hours, 3 times 10 or 30. If she works for 4 hours, 4 times 10 or 40. Okay? So you want to keep going. It says here extend the table up to 8 hours. So 5, 6, 7, 8. And you fill in the rest of the table here to find out how much she's made for each of those total number of hours that she's worked. The graph here shows the relationship between hours and total work, the total hours that she worked and the total pay. Each dot is representing a particular pair of hours worked and pay received. Hours worked, pay received. Hours worked, pay received. That's an ordered pair. Hours, for example, 4 hours, total pay, $40. Hours and pay. Here, along the horizontal line of this graph, we have hours worked. And over here, along the vertical line of this graph, we have the total pay that she received. So if I want to represent each of those points, if she works 1 hour, she's going to get $10. And on the graph, I go and find out where those two values connect, where they basically meet. And I put a point there. If she works for 2 hours, she gets $20. So I take those two values, connect them, and put a point. 3 for 30. 4 hours, she gets 40. 5, she gets 50. 6, she gets 60. 7, she gets 70. That'd be up here somewhere if we continue this. And you can see that there is a pattern. There is a relationship between hours worked and total pay that she receives. You're going to keep doing this. You keep going 7, 8, and just make the graph a little bit bigger, keeping everything uniform. Okay? Here's another example. It says Mrs. Smith writes the percent of correct answers on each test and the quiz that she grades. The table shows percent scores for 10 question quizzes and 20 question quizzes. So right here you'll see percent correct for 10 questions. If the quiz has 10 questions, if you get 1 correct, that's only 10%. If you get 2 correct, that's 2 out of 10 or 20%, and so on. For a 20 question quiz, if you get 1 correct, that's 1 out of 20. That, if you divide that, is 0.05 or 5%. 2 out of 20. It's not 2 out of 10, it's 2 out of 20 now. 2 out of 20, if I take 2 divided by 20, I get 0.10, 0.1. That's 10%, and so on, if we go all the way through these. Here it says copy the table for the 20 question test. That's this one here. And now continue all the way down to 20. So you got to do 12, 13, 14, etc. and continue going. Okay? You'll notice that these percentages increase by 5% because every time you go up by 1, 1 out of 20 is basically 5%. So 2 out of 20 is going to be 10%, 3 out of 20 is 15, 4 out of 20 is 20, 5 out of 20 is 25, etc. And then you graph these, just like we did the other one, and notice that they've graphed all of them for you. You'll notice here there's a definite pattern. All of these, if you were to connect these, we have a definite pattern that forms a line showing the relationship between number of correct answers and your score as a percent. Okay? The usefulness is that you can answer a lot of questions using the graph and the table. For example, Sonia answered 18 questions correctly. What is her percent score? We can figure that out really quickly. If you look at the graph, she got 18. All we do is we go to 18, we go up to the line, and we find out right at that line, if we go over to now the percent, that's 90%. So anytime you want to figure out the number of correct, what percent does that give you? You go to the number correct, you go up until you hit the line, and then you come straight over to find out what percent that corresponds to. Okay? Easy. Or you can go the other way. If she scored 75%, now we're going to go to the percent. That would be right here, 75%. Now if you want to find out how many correct out of 20 that is, you go again to the line, because the line's showing the relationship, and once you hit the line, you come straight down, and you find now that 15 out of 20 is the 75%. That's 15 out of 20 according to the graph. Okay? And we can label those points on the graph by using the two numbers that get us to that point. So for example, if you want to name the point on a particular graph or grid, you can use what are called coordinate points or coordinate values. They are always in a particular order. You always put the number that you have on the horizontal part, the horizontal axis first, followed by the number on the vertical axis. So for example, this point right here, we'll name the point E. That point right there is 3, 3. What that means is you start at the origin, you start at the 0 point. That's the origin where both x and y, I say x because x is horizontal, y is vertical, but you always are going to start here at the 0, and then you're going to step the first number, you're going to step that many steps horizontally, and then once you get there, you stop, and the second number tells you how much you go up or down. So I'm going to go 3, positive 3 means 3 steps to the right, and 3 steps up gets me to a location, and I put a point there, right there at that value, and that is the point 3, 3. It's always in that particular order. 3 tells me horizontally right or left. The next number happens to also be a 3, tells me how much I go up or down. Okay? So this value B, I always start here. I always start at the 0. It's called the origin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps, and then to get up to B, 1, 2, 3. So that value is 8, 3, and always put it in the order of the horizontal movement and then the vertical movement. Okay? If we want to get all the way up to A here, again, you start at the origin, always, and I'm going to take 6 steps to the right, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps up. 6, 8 is going to be the point. This is the ordered pair, the coordinates that describe the location of point A. Okay? And then all they're just saying is if you want to then connect all those points, you'll see that it makes a star if you want to. Okay? So, a little activity here. It says, have students practice graphing points on a grid and connecting the points to complete a design. So you can make up your own if you want to. You could, for example, list a whole bunch of coordinates, list a whole bunch of points, and then see if somebody in your family could plot all those points, and you would know maybe you selected those points specifically to make a design, a star or fish or a cross or X or something like that. Okay? So that might be a fun little activity, is to come up with a whole list of points. And you can write the points as two numbers separated by a comma, like this. Remember, it's always the X number and then the Y number. The X tells you how to move horizontally. Horizontal. That means right and left. The Y value tells you how to move vertically. Vertical. And that would be up and down. Okay? So you can put them like that, a whole series of ordered pairs, or you could also make a table. And just make a table where the X numbers are going to be separated by the Y numbers, and you just pair them up that way. So again, you could have, for example, this is 3, 3, so 3, 3, 8, 3, 8, 3, 9, 6, 9, 6, 6, 8, and 2, 6. You can organize them that way and plot each of those as a different point. All of those are different points, 5 different points right there. Okay? All right, so that's just kind of a little bonus topic on graphing and looking at the coordinate grid or coordinate axis system.